Once the signal is green for you, that means it is red for the crossing traffic. Okay, just a small correction here, and the correction is that dB act ACT basically means actual. Okay, I think I mixed it up last time. So actual will come from this triangle, the similar triangle equation which we generated using similar ratios. So this will give you the actual distance. Okay, the actual distance or the distance which is available, and then the side distance will be calculated using this equation, the side distance equation. Okay, this will be your dB minimum then. This will be your dB minimum. And the other approach which we use, that vehicle A must travel 18 feet in front of the collision point in the same time when vehicle C is reaching 12 feet before the collision point. And this was the second criteria from the historical approach. And we use this criteria to find out other dB minimum. So there were uh, two approaches to find out minimum side distance for vehicle coming from road B. One was using the side distance, the other one was using the historical approach of having 18 feet, having vehicle A 18 feet ahead of collision point and vehicle C 12 feet before the collision point. And this is basically d upon s. Okay, d upon s to give you the time. So this you can calculate dB minimum from this equation as well, and dB minimum should be less than or equal to dB actual. The minimum which you require should be less than or equal to the actual which you have. Okay, so I think I mixed up the minimum and the actual. Okay, I reversed it, I think. Anyways, let us look at an example here. Okay, so we have a vehicle A which is approaching the intersection, and it has two vehicles coming from both sides. Okay, the distance uh, from vehicle A to any roadside obstruction. Let's say this is the roadside obstruction. Okay, so the distance to the roadside obstruction is given. Okay, so from side of vehicle B we have 42 feet. From this side we have 20 feet. On this side we have 60 feet. From this side we have 12 feet in case you want to measure it. And the speeds for all directions are given. Okay, the time is given. Okay, it's 2.5 seconds, the reaction time, and it is level gradient. It is level gradient. Okay, now whenever you are checking this, now you had to assume that one of the vehicles is already at a safe distance from the intersection. When you are checking the criteria, you have to assume that one of the vehicles is already at a safe distance from the intersection. What is the safe distance? The side distance. The side distance. So you have to assume that vehicle A is already at a distance which is enough for stopping from the intersection. Okay, so the distance for vehicle A, dA, is already equal to the side distance. Okay, so you can go here. Okay, so for calculating dA, use the side distance equation, which is 1.47 into 2.5, the reaction time, into the speed. How much speed is given? 30 miles per hour, plus then we have the 30 square by how much was the factor? 30. Okay, so 30 into 0.348 minus g, right? and G is 0. I'll just put it 0. This is square. Okay, how much is this?
$119.8.
9.8 feet. Okay. Now you can calculate dB minimum using the equations which we have. One using the similar triangle, this one. Sorry, dB actual. dB actual. Let us calculate dB actual. So now we have already found dA, okay, which is 119.8, and this was why we calculated this earlier. And then A was what? What was A and B? Can somebody tell me? What was A and B here? What is A and B? Yes, go ahead.
Speed.
Sorry. No, I mean what is it? Like what parameter it is? A means what? This is which distance? Distance from what to what?
The distance, the side obstacle of the road.
Yeah, the distance to the side obstacle of the road from. So if you take it from vehicle A, it will be then small a. If you take it from vehicle B, then it will be small b. Okay, so A is 20 feet here and B is 42 feet here. So 20, 42. Okay, how much is it?
$30.79.
30.79 feet. Okay, now let us look at how much dB we require. So this is dA. First of all, we calculated dA, which was 119.8 feet. So we are already assuming that a vehicle is already at a distance which is equal to the safe stopping distance. Obviously, you have to fix the position of one vehicle to get the position of the other vehicle. So the position of the first vehicle is this one. Okay, then the actual distance according to this position from this point, the actual visibility to vehicle B is this much. Okay, let us see how much visibility the vehicle B actually required. Okay, so again I will use the same equation. No, sorry, not this one. This one. So now we will use speed on road for vehicle B, which is 40. Okay, how much is it?
$300.25.
300.25. Okay. Then, so we have two approaches for dB minimum, right? So this is one. Okay. Let us use the other approach as well, which is this one. DA will remain 119.8. Speed on road B. Speed on road B is 40. I think yeah, this 12 is out of the division. Okay, keep it in mind. 12 is not divided, so we need the speed on road A, which is 30. Okay, and then you add 12. So 12 is separately added like this. See this one? Like this. First of all, you solve this ratio and then you add 12. How much is it?
One 195.73.
195.73 feet. Okay. Now we said dB actual should be greater than or equal to dB minimum. Okay. Now you can see both dBs are very different from each other. Okay. So let's say we were prepared to use even the historical approach, which was giving us a much lower answer. You are even satisfied with that. But if you compare the actual dB, this is not even satisfying the historical approach as well, which is much lower than the dB which you require for stopping. Okay, so actual distance, the actual side distance available for driver from road B is not enough from any of the approaches. It's not enough from any of the approaches. So that means this intersection does not have enough side distance. Okay. Now this intersection, then what is the meaning of that? That if you do not have enough side distance for an intersection, then you must go for a traffic control device that can, make the driver on one of the roads to maybe stop, okay, before entering the intersection, so that when he will come close to the intersection, he will stop, and then he will only enter if he sees the other side is open for him. Okay, so you cannot, this check is applied to know if we need any traffic control device at an intersection or not. So if your dB actual is less than the minimum required from these criteria, then you must consider putting a traffic control sign or traffic control device at that intersection, because you know now the driver does not have enough sight distance to proceed based upon his judgment. There is not enough sight distance, so even if he tries, he cannot, even if he's a very good driver, very skilled driver, the sight distance available is not enough for him to make any judgment. Okay, so in this case, you must go for a traffic control device at this intersection. Now let us look at the warrants required for different traffic control devices at the intersection. What do we mean by warrant? Warrant is not the warranty which you have for different electronic items, right? It's not that warranty, okay? That, traffic control device is not working, you go to the ministry and tell them, okay, give me another one. It's not like this, okay? Warrants are the conditions which you, these are the conditions that when they are met on an intersection, they will permit the use of a specific control device. Warrants are conditions which are when met at the intersection, they can permit you to use a traffic control device. If these conditions are not met, if warrants are not met, then that particular traffic control device cannot be used, or that particular traffic control device should not be used. Let me call it like this: should not be used. Okay. So if you are looking to put a traffic control device at an intersection, then you must see that if you are meeting the warrants or not. Okay, so these are the warrants for the stop and yield signs. Stop and yield signs, we use the same warrants. Okay, so stop and yield sign should be used if you are meeting even if you are meeting any one of the conditions A, B, C, these three, the first three, okay, let us talk about them, then we will talk about the other set of conditions as well. So we have, so the first condition is intersection of a less important road with a main road, where simple right of way will not be expected to provide reasonable compliance with the law. Okay, so if you are simply using, like I mentioned yesterday, if you are using unsigned and unsignalized intersections, then you are expecting that the driver would follow the right of way rules. Yeah, you know, the right before left and so on and so forth. Okay. If you expect that the driver cannot follow these rules, like I mentioned, maybe because he does not have enough side distance, or maybe there is some problem with the design of the intersection. Okay, there's some maybe not enough space, or maybe the curve is very dangerous, the turning is dangerous, then you go for a stop or yield sign. Okay, so this is the first condition. Second condition is that the street is entering a designated through highway. So a highway which is going straight, and you have a street which is entering that highway. Okay, so obviously then you need a yield or stop sign for the people who are entering that highway. Okay, so it's not an intersection, it's just an entry point from the street. Okay, like the entry point from a driveway. Like you are coming out of your garage onto the street, so the street is through for you. The people who are on the street, they will go straight. They have the right of way. So for you, I have to provide a yield or stop sign. If you have unsignalized intersection within a signalized area, okay, so you have, I think I mentioned earlier as well, for right turning. When you are doing the right turning, so you have a signalized intersection, okay, and on that signalized intersection, you are making a right turning. Okay, so the people who are making the right turning, they are basically unsignalized, right? So we give them a yield or a stop sign. We give them a yield or a stop sign for the people who are turning, because they will be the ones who will be merging on. Okay, so in that case, you may also provide a yield or a stop sign. You may so in addition to that, in addition to these conditions, you may use a stop or yield sign at intersection of two minor streets or local roads, which is not so common. Usually, if you have two minor streets or local roads crossing, then usually you would see them without any signs. Okay, where the intersection has three or more approaches. Okay, so obviously this is three or more approaches. Less than three is two approaches. Then it's not an intersection, right? Where one or more of the following conditions is meeting. So if you have two minor approaches or two local roads meeting with each other, then if any of these conditions is met, plus any of these conditions, then you can also provide a stop or a yield sign. The combined flow or the combined volume entering the intersection from all approaches is more than 2,000 units per day, combined including vehicles, bicycles and pedestrians, everybody. Okay. The ability to see the conflicting traffic is not sufficient to allow road user to yield in compliance. So this is the side distance condition. Okay, the same which we have for the minor road with main road as well. Okay, so this one condition was when a minor road is crossing the main road, and this is when two minor roads are crossing. But still, that means in any case you have to check that the side distance condition is met. Okay, if side distance condition is not met, then you should at least provide a stop or a yield sign. Okay, as simple as that. And the third condition is about the crashes, accidents at the intersection. If you have 5 or more crashes involving failure to yield the right of way at the intersection under the normal rule within a 3-year period. So if you had 5 or more crashes in a 3-year period, and you feel that these crashes were because the drivers were not stopping or giving the way to the driver which they should have. Okay, like they are not using the right of way rule that this driver should go first, then I will go after him, is not working. The drivers are not judging it properly. Okay, So 5 or more crashes in 3 years or 2 or more crashes in 2 years. Okay, any of them. If you have data for 5 years and see if you have 5 or more crashes in those 5 years. If you have data for 2 years and see if you have 2 or more crashes in 2 years, then you will go for a stop or yield sign at that intersection. Okay. And again, that you feel the reason of these crashes is the misjudgment of the driver in entering the intersection. Okay, so maybe the accident happened because the driver at one highway thought I have enough distance to pass, but in fact he didn't, and it resulted in a crash. So if you feel these type of crashes are happening 5 or more in 3 years or 2 or more in 2 years, then you go for a stop or yield sign. Okay, then we have warrants for two-way stop sign. Okay, so for yield sign, you don't have to stop. For a give way or yield sign, you don't have to stop. Okay, but at a stop sign, you have to stop. Okay, so you can say two-way stop sign is like an advanced stage from the yield sign. Okay, it's an advanced stage from the yield sign. So there are two guidelines here, first of all, then we'll go for the conditions. The guideline is stop or yield sign, any of the signs should not be used at a signalized intersection. If the signal is already installed and operating at that intersection, you should not use a stop or yield sign at that point. Okay, and a stop sign should not be used for speed control. You feel the driver is going too fast, okay, and he is approaching a point where there have been crashes, or the point where there is a dangerous curve or some work is, like say construction work is going on. You cannot put a stop sign to slow down the driver. So stop sign will only be used for stopping. This is what they mean. Okay, don't use it for slowing down the driver. Okay, if you want to stop the driver, then only use it at that point. Okay. Okay, so intersections at which you feel the full stopping is not necessary, then you give a yield sign, like I was saying. Okay, and you have the conditions which I have given you earlier. Okay, so those conditions, if you fulfill those conditions, you fulfill the requirement of a yield sign. Okay, and as I mentioned, you only need to find one condition to be satisfied. Okay, if you want a stop sign, okay, because you feel yielding is not enough, so first of all you have to use your own judgment to find only slowing down is enough, or should I ask the driver to completely stop. Okay, and so to make this judgment, they have given us these conditions, and again you have to fulfill one. If even one of them is fulfilled, you can provide a two-way stop sign. Okay, so two-way stop sign means what? You have two roads. Okay, so two-way stop sign means I will have a stop sign for one of the roads. So one of the roads means two approaches, right? Two approaches of the intersection will have a stop sign. The other approach will be free. The other approach will have the right of way. Okay, the other two approaches, I mean. So vehicle traffic volume on the through street, this one. On the through street exceeds 6,000 vehicles per day. If vehicle traffic volume on the through street exceeds 6,000 vehicles per day, you provide a stop sign for the other streets. Restricted view exists because of which the drivers on minor street approach to stop in order to adequately observe the conflicting traffic. Like I said, the side distance rule. So if you do not have enough dB minimum, then you provide a stop sign. Okay. Crash records indicate that 3 or more crashes are that can be corrected by installation of a stop sign. So in a year, you have collected data for 1 year, or the crashes from the previous year show that 3 or more crashes can be reduced from those crashes reported for the last year if you put a stop sign. Okay, later on, don't worry, later on in this course, we did it in the traffic course as well. Okay, how to analyze the intersections, and we did one example as well, but don't worry, we will do it in this course as well at the end. Okay, so you analyze the crashes and you feel that crashes are happening because the drivers are not stopping. You need a stop sign, you provide a stop sign there. Okay, so the values are 3 or more crashes in 1 year, 5 or more crashes in 2 years. Okay, so what type of crashes can indicate that you need a stop sign? These crashes are right angle, basically collisions, right angle collisions. So one driver coming from here, the other one coming from here, and you have like this, this type of a crash. So obviously right angle crashes happen because one driver did not stop at his time. The one of these drivers should not have entered, right? So right angle crashes mean that the driver which was coming from the minor street did not stop for the driver which was already in the intersection, which was coming from the major street. So in that case, if you have like 3 or more crashes in 1 year, 5 or more crashes in 2 years, provide a stop sign. Okay, like I said, you have to fulfill one of these conditions. Okay, when you are providing a stop sign, how much side distance must be available to the stop sign? So now we are talking about the side distance to the stop sign. Side distance required to the stop sign, not the side distance required to the what we call the other vehicle, because now we are stopping, right? So there are 3 components to the collision point from the point of the driver, the point from where the driver is looking at the road, from that point to the collision point. So this is the collision point, see. So from this point where the driver is here to this point at the collision point, we have 3 components of distance. Distance from driver I to the front of the vehicle. So distance from here where the driver is sitting to the front of the vehicle, this is 8 feet, assumed to be 8 feet. Distance from the front of the vehicle to the curb line, so this is assumed to be 10 feet. Okay, so curb line will be, somewhere here. Okay, from here to here. And distance from the curb line to the center of the rightmost travel lane approaching from the left. Okay, so from the curb line, so this is a curb line, to the center of the rightmost travel lane. So for example, if you consider this vehicle B, then distance from the curb line to this vehicle. Okay, so the distance dA minus B, basically this one. Okay, so if you are taking it from here, then it will be this distance, TB minus A. Okay, from the curb line to this point, from the curb line, let me again, from the curb line to the center of the rightmost lane. Okay, so rightmost lane is this one, right? From the curb line to the rightmost lane is this one. Approaching from the left. So this is the guy. If you are coming from here for vehicle B, if you're coming from here, then this is the guy. Okay, so then the distance will be taken from here. Okay, and if you are coming from here, then distance will be taken from here. Okay, so these are the 3 distances. Okay, one from the driver to the front of the vehicle, then from the vehicle to the curb line, then from the curb line to the driver coming from the other side. Okay, to the lane which is for the driver coming from the other side. Okay, then we have DA stopping, the distance required, the distance of vehicle A, this vehicle, from the collision point. Okay, so from this point to the collision point. Okay, this is what they are calling as DA stop. Okay, this is equal to 18 plus D clearance. Okay, or D to the curb line. Okay, D to the curb line. So what is DCL? Distance from the curb line to the center of the closest travel lane. Okay, so distance from the curb line, this is the curb line, and distance to the closest travel lane for the from the direction under consideration. So this is the direction which we are considering. So this distance B, this is DCL. Okay. So this is your curb line and distance from this curb line to the basically the vehicle. Okay. So you will calculate D stop from here. Then again we have the same approach that we have applied previously. Then you will calculate DP minimum. So DP minimum is calculated from here. So this is the speed on the major road. So basically this driver is coming from the major road, and we have TG, which is a gap accepted by the driver on the minor road. Okay, so I have already told you what do we mean by the gap on the gap acceptance. Gap acceptance is how much far this driver should be from the collision point that this driver from A will decide to enter. This is gap acceptance. Okay, how far should be the driver on this driver B should be from the collision point that this driver will decide to enter the intersection. Okay, and they have given us a standard value here, which is 7.5 seconds. So 7.5 seconds is considered normally standard for a driver coming from the minor road to enter the intersection if he has this much gap from the vehicle from the major road. Okay, and again the gap is from the car to the collision point. The gap is from the car to the collision point. Okay, so if you have this much, so this is the minimum side distance required for vehicle approaching on the major road, which is uncontrolled. Okay, so you calculate DP minimum from here, and then you check if you have this much or not. Okay, if you have this much, then well and good. If you don't have, then you need to increase the side distance. Okay, and this is we are considering that there's an obstruction on the side of the road. So you see the dash line is basically the obstruction. The dash line is the obstruction. Okay, so if you don't have any obstruction, then fine. Okay, go ahead. Then there's no problem with the side distance, right? So let us consider this case. We have a stop controlled approach at an intersection, 2-lane arterial. So this is a 2-lane arterial. Which one? This one. Okay. The design speed of the arterial is 40 miles per hour, which is they are saying shown in the figure as well. I don't know. 40 miles per hour? No. Okay. So we have to, find out the dB minimum, okay, for each side. Okay, and so we have this one and this one. Okay, so we have to find out dA and dB minimum for each side. Okay, so first of all we'll find out dA. We'll find out dA. So dA is 18 plus DCL, where DCL is distance from the curve line to the center of the closest travel lane from the direction under consideration. Okay, so we said 18 feet. Sorry. So we have this 35, and we have to go to the center. Okay, to the center. So 35. This is the obstruction. So 35 plus. Now I have to go to the center, right? To the center. So center, we have 12 feet lane. So center will be 6 feet. Center will be 6 feet. So 35 plus 6, 41 feet. Okay, so we have dA which is 41 plus 18, so this is 59 feet. Okay, then we calculate dB minimum for both these approaches. Okay, so this is the equation for dB minimum. So we calculate it for right and left both. Okay, the speed will be how much is the speed here? We have a speed of 40. So this is only for one side. I think this is for the vehicle on the There's a vehicle from, this is for the vehicle on the right hand side. Okay, so let me call it DB right or DA right. So let me calculate DA left as well then. So for the left hand side, we have again, so the distance from the curve line to the lane is 20 feet, and then you will add 6 again because it is to the, you need it to the center. Okay, you need it to the center, so 20 plus 6 is 26 plus 18, 26 plus 18, 36 and 44. Okay. So how much this is required? 40, and the gap was given as 7.5. Okay. Give me this value.
441.
441 feet. Okay. So this is the minimum required distance for the vehicles which are approaching from road A. Oh, sorry, road B. Okay, from the major road. Okay. Now, so you have now DA and for the right and the left hand side, and you have DB minimum. Okay, so if you want to find out the values of A and B, you can use. So now you know from how far the stop sign should should be visible for the driver on road A. Okay, so if in order to cross the side on the in order to cross the side of the road from the this is what, left hand side. Okay, he needs 44 feet. In order to cross the drivers on the right hand side, he needs 59 feet. Okay, and the side distance for driver which is coming from the major road should be 441 feet, so that he can go through. Okay, so these are the side distances to the stop sign, and then this is the side distance for the driver on the major road. Okay. Okay, then we have always stop sign, the warrants for always stop sign. So always means what? Now always means that you have an intersection. And there are stop signs on all approaches. Here's stop sign here, and yeah, basically all approaches here. Okay, so on all approaches you have a stop sign. Okay. So when you are considering, when you are doing in this engineering study for putting up always stop sign, then you must consider these conditions. Okay. So so you are trying to maybe do traffic signal at that site in future. Okay. But for the time being, before the signal is activated, you can put a multi-way stop sign. Multi-way, all-way means the same thing. Okay, so multi-way stop sign can be put as an interim measure, meaning something which you are doing it for immediate purposes. Okay, I want to put a signal there, but it will take some time. So for the time being, I can put a multi-way stop sign. Okay, so this is one of the conditions. If you can put a multi-way stop sign because of that. Other condition is if you have 5 or more crashes reported in a 12 months period, and you feel that the crashes are, because of right and left turn collisions as well as right angle collisions, so you feel that the crashes can be reduced because of with the help of a multi-way stop sign. Okay, so which again they are giving you an indication which type of crashes can be reduced with a multi-way stop sign. The crashes which are because of right turning and left turning, and the crashes which are at right angle. So these crashes can be reduced by putting a multi-way stop sign. So if we have such crashes 5 or more in 1 year period, then you can put a multi-way stop sign. Okay. Then the third condition involves these 3 things, these 3 items. Okay. And they are related to volumes. All 3 items are related to volume. The first condition is the volume entering from the major approach, okay, from both sides. So if this is the major approach, okay, so the volume coming from both sides combined is at least 300 vehicles per hour for any 8 hours of an average day. Okay, so you take the volume for 8 hours. In those 8 hours, the volume does not go below 300 vehicles per hour. This is what they mean. In the 8 hours of the day, the volume, there is an 8-hour period in the day in which the volume does not go below 300 vehicles per hour. Okay, so this is one of the item. The other item is combined volume, pedestrian and bicycle volume entering from the minor intersection now. Minor intersection approaches again for both approaches. This one and this one. So the combined volume from both approaches for the minor road, including all road users, vehicle, pedestrian, bicycles, is at least 200 units per hour. So now we cannot say vehicles per hour because now we are considering pedestrian, bicyclists as well. So we are saying 200 units per hour for the same 8 hours in which the major road volume was not less than 300 vehicles per hour. So then you have to take the volume for the same time period. Okay, so let's say if this is the volume 300 vehicles per hour, the volume on the major road approaches is more than 300 vehicles per hour. Let's say from 8 a.m. to 4. 8 to 4 is 8 hours. Yeah, right. So 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. So in the same time period from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., the volume on the minor road approaches is not below 200 units per hour. Okay. And the average delay, so this is another part of this condition, average delay to minor street vehicle traffic is at least 30 seconds per hour, 30 seconds per vehicle in the highest hour, in the peak hour. Okay, in the peak hour. So these are the 2 major conditions, and then you have a relaxation in these conditions. The relaxation is 85th percentile speed of the major road. If the approach speed 85th percentile of the approach speed of the major road exceeds 40 miles per hour, then you have a 70% relaxation in these values. So if you don't meet 300 but you meet 70% of 300, okay, and you don't meet 200 units per hour but you meet 70%, 70% means 140, right? And 70% of 300 is 210. Okay, so if the major road speed is above 40 miles per hour, then even if you meet 210 vehicles per hour on the major road and 140 units per hour on the minor road, and the delay is, I don't know, 21 seconds per vehicle, still it is enough for putting a multi-way stop sign. Okay, so basically you are looking for the first 2 values, but if you have a speed of more than 40 miles per hour, then you have a relaxation of 40% in these values. Okay, so either you use the first 2, the values which are in the first mentioned in 1 and 2, or you use 70% of them if that the speed is above 40 miles per hour for the major road. Okay. The third condition is that you are not meeting any single criteria, but criteria B, C1 and C2. So obviously criteria A is for, there's no value for criteria A, right? So there is no percentage. You cannot apply any percentage to this one. So if you meet 80% of criteria B, okay, and 80% of C1 and C2, okay, then you can still provide a multi-way stop sign. Then you don't have to look for criteria C3. Okay. Okay, so let me summarize it. You have 3 conditions. If you fulfill any of these three conditions, you provide a multi-way stop sign. Okay. The first condition is if you are going to put a signal there in future, but for the time being you want to make it work with the multi-way stop sign, that is fine. Okay, and this condition is something separate. Then we have two more conditions. One is related to crashes, the other one is related to volumes. Okay, if you do not fulfill the crash condition, you will go for the volume condition, right? You do not fulfill the volume condition as well, so that means you cannot put a multi-way stop sign. Okay, simple as that. But you do not fulfill crash and volume condition, but you are fulfilling it to 80%. So you don't have 5 crashes, but you have 4 crashes at least. Okay, so 4 is 80% of 5, right? So you have 4 crashes. Obviously, if condition B is not fulfilled completely. Okay, so you cannot put a multi-way stop sign on the basis of condition B. But if the volume criteria, both of them, A1 and 2, both volume criteria are met up to 80% in addition to condition B, then you can also put a multi-way stop sign. Okay, so either you have one of these three conditions completely fulfilled, or two of them, B and C, fulfilled up to 80%. Okay, and if you are using the combination of B and C, then this third rule will not apply. The third rule for condition C will not apply. Okay, so you cannot have a 70% relaxation and then 80% as well. Okay, we can only do one of them. Other criteria, then you can consider that the left turning are causing too many conflicts. Okay, pedestrian vehicle conflicts are generated because there's a high pedestrian volume. Then you can also provide a stop sign because of pedestrian volume. Okay, locations where you feel that the road user even after stopping cannot see the conflicting traffic. Okay, and he is not able to negotiate unless the conflicting traffic is also stopping. Okay, so you have side distance problem on both sides. Okay, so both drivers must see each other. Okay, because the driver who is stopping on the minor road cannot do it. Even after stopping, he does not have enough side distance. Okay, maybe because of a curve, maybe because of an obstruction. Then in that case you have to provide a multi-way stop sign. Okay, if you have an intersection of two residential collector through streets of similar design, operating characteristics, where you feel that a multi-way stop sign will improve the operation of the intersection, it will reduce the delay and so on, then you can also provide a multi-way stop sign. Okay, these are additional criteria, the special conditions, you can say. The main are the first three, these first three. Okay. Okay, then this is the warrant for a yield sign. We have enough time? No, we don't have. Okay, so we'll discuss them tomorrow, inshallah. Not tomorrow. Tomorrow you have the exam, right? So after the exam. All the best for your exam. Just a reminder, the exam will appear on Blackboard, both exams. Before you start attempting the exam, you have to come here to Teams and switch on your camera. You must be on camera from 9 to 10 a.m. Okay, you will attempt the theory part first. If you are late in doing the, for example, if you do not start the theory part till 9:05, then you cannot do the theory part. Then you will directly attempt the numerical part. Okay, and you have to finish the theory part till 9:15 a.m. Otherwise, the theory part will be force completed. You will not be able to complete it. Like the theory part will be submitted incomplete. And for the numerical, okay, you will use, the formula sheet will be given, the values will be given. So there will be a file you will download in which you will see the values, the questions, and the formula sheet. You will only use them. And to submit your answer, you can use a Word format, you can use PDF or JPEG. Okay, Excel is not allowed. Excel is not allowed. If you have any problem, you can submit the file on Blackboard and on Teams. Okay, no other platform. Submit the file on Blackboard and on Teams. Okay, don't send me messages on WhatsApp with these.